Hey everyone, Oisty T here from Good Evening Aussie, and I'm here to talk to you about the Letter from Producer Live Part 52, which took place in the late hours of yesterday in the UK, early hours of the morning as well, and obviously on the Friday daytime, morning time in Japan and the US. It was the final live letter before Shadowbringers goes live. It is currently Saturday, the 15th of June. We are 13 days away from Shadowbringers going live. Shadowbringers, the early access will go live on the 28th. Normal release will be the 2nd of July. So let's delve in. Let's see how we get on. As always, special thanks to Aluna Minora, Shinitan, as the rest of the Reddit Discord. Great job in getting all the information collated into one place. We could not do these videos without you. So Yoshi P, Foxconn, and Amy were the three people doing the live letter yesterday, and like we say, it was the last live letter before Shadowbringers. They did show a dungeon walkthrough trailer, which showed off some of the dungeons for Shadowbringers. Most of the dungeons they have said are heavily main story quest related, so they couldn't really show much of them. However, they are hoping to have additional dungeons that aren't main story quest related in the X patches, just so that they can show more off. One thing that they did want to clear up as well about the media tour feedback, if you are doing any kind of content and you wipe, your charge actions, so things like Ricochet, Goes Round, Shoulder Tackle, on Avant, they will all have fully recharged charges after a wipe, so no having to wait a minute, 2 minutes to get your charges back up. They did identify the Titania fight, so the first trial that we're going to have in Shadowbringers is going to be the level 73 trial. It is going to be Titania. It is going to be called the Dancing Plague. Sorry for scratching my face quite a lot. It was available to play at E3. They did say that around about 30% of the player base actually cleared it at E3. There are some videos knocking around on Reddit and on Twitter of people actually clearing the content. One of my favourite ones is Xavier Woods, who is a WWE superstar. He actually went to E3 and he was really, really excited when he managed to clear the Dancing Plague. So good on him. They did also show off the t-shirt, or Foxconn showed off the t-shirt that you got for actually clearing it. So they did go and show us a little bit of the gameplay. Yoshi P's character was in Ilmeg, and they are mounted on something called an Amaro? That's the Japanese name. It's basically the first version of a chocolate ball, and they are heavily tied into the MSQ. So they did show off the area, so it's a very big area, lots of light, because obviously the first is covered in light, and at the moment there's nowhere to fall off, but as always in Final Fantasy XIV, the arena might change, so we might get parts of the arena in the later half of the normal mode. It may become where you can fall off, or I'm definitely guessing in the extreme versions those barriers will disappear and you'll be able to fall off the ends. They then started the actual fight, showed off some of the cool mechanics. One of the mechanics here, this is where the fight actually ended. Yoshi P did get one shot. It's the only thing that his invulnerability skill couldn't save. Just he did obviously have God mode on, so that he could show off some of the fight. But this, I'm guessing, is specific mechanics, so an invuln wouldn't actually work. It was a giant flaming fist that got dropped down on his head, so take that for what it is. But they showed off 4 puddles which got counters around them, so I'm wondering if people have to go stand in them in order to stop the puddles then spawning the yards. And then you got this split damage AoE, which was the falling flaming fist. Titania does rule over pixies and fairies, like we have already been told, so a lot of her attacks do involve using them. And there's Foxconn showing off the I Beat Titania t-shirt. They then talk about the trust system. So it was available on the media tour, so it has been covered extensively by those people. So there's videos from Ms. Tech, there's videos from Mr. Happy, I believe Larry Czar's done one. So there are lots of videos out there which show off the actual trust system in action. They do have a quick recap, so you are going to be able to use it in all Shadowbringers main story quest dungeons, So you can do them with NPCs. You can play any role and the NPCs will fill the rest. So if you want a tank, you'll take Thancred. If you want to take a healer, you've got Urianger or Alphinaud, and DPSs, you've got Minfilia, you've got Alisei, and you've got Ishtola. They all have their own rotations and they all react differently to different situations. They also have a special AI and unique action, so it's not like the squadrons where we have to command them to go and engage or disengage or attack. They also have unique dialogue, which I did find really interesting. So when they showed you in Dom Meg, which is the dungeon they showed it off in, they did all have interesting dialogue between each other. And playing with other players will still be more efficient time-wise, but you will be able to play with the NPCs to have immersive dialogue and things like that. They said that a no-wipe run through a dungeon with the trust system will take around about 30 minutes. So it'll be interesting to see if you've got 30 minutes versus how long it would take with a normal party, especially when it comes to leveling. So when you're doing your first character, your first playthrough of the main scenario quest, it's not going to be too bad getting into dungeons. Yes, there's still going to be DPS queue times, but you can imagine they will be slightly shorter. In the later patches, or in the later times when you are wanting to level other classes, one of the things I was thinking is the trust will definitely help you, because instead of having to, as a DPS, go and run whatever the deep dungeon's going to be, you'll be able to go and do the dungeons, but with the trust system, because tanks and healers will always get near enough auto pop queues when it comes to running dungeons. So time versus experience wise, it is better for them to do dungeons, whereas time versus experience wise for DPS, it's much better for them to run the deep dungeons. I was thinking this might actually mean that for DPSs, running scenario dungeons, because you've got the trust system there, will actually be an alternative. However, because it's going to take 25-30 minutes per dungeon run, it may not work out better to not do the deep dungeons and to do this. But that's something that people will have to work out when it comes to time versus experience once the deep dungeon actually launches. They did say that they have specialized AI. One of the things that was pointed out during the actual media tour was if you take Alisei in, as soon as the limit break bar is filled, she will use a limit break. She'll not save it, she will just automatically use that limit break, which is her kind of thing. So she wants to get through things as quick as possible, she wants to deal as much damage as possible, she uses the limit break as soon as it's there. So the NPC AIs are based on their personalities, which is why Alisei uses that limit break kind of issue. If you take too much damage, you will die and it's game over and you've got to restart the dungeon. An NPC will not be able to raise you, so Urianger would not be able to raise you. It is just game over. However, if an NPC dies, then somebody will be raised quite quickly from there. So they did go in and do it. You will have the glowing entrance that you do with all the other dungeons. You'll have specific NPCs standing around, and those NPCs will be the ones that you can then add to the trust system. So in here you've got Dom Meg. So you've got I'm just going to see if I can make this picture a bit bigger just so that you can see some of the writing. So Yoshi P changed to Black Mage, so you've got him as one of the DPS. You've got Thancred as Gunbreaker. You've got Urianger as an Astrologian. You've then got Minfilia. Now, she's got the symbol for Rogue, but her class is actually identified as the Oracle of Light. You do have Alisei here, which you can make out. She is a red mage. They don't have Ishtola here, and that's because they do say that the NPCs that you're able to take into the dungeons will be changed based on your main scenario progression. It's actually down here. So she's not part of the main scenario quest in this time, so therefore you can't take her. And Alphinaud, the reason I made it bigger is in case this wasn't here. So Alphinaud is classified as an academician. Academician? Not too sure. It's basically a scholar, but they are changing some of the job titles. So I believe it's towards the end of the live letter. Ishtola is identified not as a black mage, but as a witch, which obviously is kind of similar, but she is identified as a witch. So yeah, so some characters have unique jobs, hence why Alfie isn't a scholar. Item rate drop in Trust Dungeons is dropped to 1/4, so no going through and getting 3 drops from the bosses. Well, actually 6 drops from the bosses plus 2 or 3 treasure chests. So say if you have 2 treasure chests, 6 drops from the bosses, that's probably about 10 drops, maybe 3 treasure chests, so 12 drops. They're going to reduce that down, so you might get 3 drops. If you've got 8, you'll get 2, so on and so forth. They did show off, so like screenshots, you've got Minfilia, Urianger, and Thancred, and then better shots of Minfilia and Urianger there. And they do start talking near enough immediately as you move through a dungeon. So on this picture, I can't really make them out here, but you do have speech bubbles above Minfilia and above Thancred. So since Yoshi P went in as Black Mage, as soon as he gets close to enemies, the tank NPC will jump in and start tanking. Thancred, by all accounts, has got really good enmity generation, and Urianger does give out cards, which is really helpful. Some skills are unique to NPCs only, so don't be surprised if any of the characters actually show skills off that aren't part of their specific job. So as you progress through, the NPCs react to what they see and have interactions with each other. When there's situations where NPCs have to lose DPS due to mechanics, so such as dodging AoEs, going and standing in specific places, they do adjust their rotation accordingly to try and make up for the lost damage. There is a really long boss name here, so as you can see, even on the focus target bar, it's probably double the length of the focus target bar, but they have said that since it's a Pixie Fairy, it just had to be that way. And I believe this is the first boss in Dom Meg, so that boss actually is also the last boss. Slightly strange. When you pull the boss, whoever is your tank NPC will pull the face in the opposite direction. They also know how to do all of the unique boss mechanics. So in the video that they showed, Yoshi P was following Urianger around because Urianger knows where to go. So we don't know why he's going to these locations, but they are the right ones. So in Trust Dungeons, if you're unsure where to go, follow an NPC. So he deliberately didn't open treasure chests, and they do have very varied environments in the dungeons. So it took him about 13-14 minutes to get about halfway through. So that's kind of the pace, so hence the 30 minutes. There aren't a lot of unique dialogue interactions, since it would be too much effort to put them all in, but certain combinations have them, and when you're going through them, you can see which ones you can tick off. Systems also good if you want to practice a new role, like tanking. Limit breaks vary depending on character and what job they are. So since Yoshi P went in as a DPS, Minfilia didn't use it in order to let him use it, but as they said, RSA would have used it right away. It's all covered in details in the various Media 2 interviews as well. Next up, gathering and crafting adjustments. I will be perfectly honest, I'll be going through this very, very briefly. I'm not a big gatherer and crafter. I'm sure there's lots of other people that will go into detail about this. I'm sure on the next episode of Good Evening Eorzea, I will get Mr. Murphy to just give his thoughts on this, just he is a bit more of a crafter than myself. And just speaking of Good Evening Eorzea, sorry we didn't get the last episode up. We had some really bad audio issues. My computer decided to ignore my Blue Yeti microphone and instead decided to record off the webcam, which is very, very poor quality. When I was trying to edit it, it also cut out one entire side. So recording in stereo, it actually ended up in mono, which just didn't work. And then Mr. Murphy's disappeared, and then when I edited it disappeared again. So I do apologise, we just didn't get that out. So gatherers and crafters will be getting changes and quality of life improvements, new actions and traits in accordance with the race level cap, which we were expecting. New information will be added to gathering and fishing logs. The new information will be added via Tomes of Regional Folklore. Unspoiled, legendary, ethereal gathering point appearance timers, so you will actually be able to get set timers for these things if you've gathered them at least once, and you will actually be able to set an alarm. So you won't have to make manual notes. You can set in-game alarms. Times are in Eorzean time, but since it's in first, they wondered whether or not it would be Norvrandt time. Just happens to be exactly the same as Eorzean time, so didn't need to work that out. New tackles for fishing, since there's so many to keep track of. 2.0 areas will now use a universal bait to make it much, much easier. These may be added for Heavensward and Stormblood areas eventually. Regional folklore tomes will be easier to obtain, and crafters, they will also get new actions. So boilies are the types of tackles that's going to be used for the 2.0 areas. Big change on the crafters, so they are going to get additional actions, but Steady Hand 2 and Byrogot's Blessing are going to be added to all crafting jobs. So before, you used to get Culinarian to 37 to get Steady Hand 2, then you used to get Carpenter to 50 to get Byrogot's Blessing to make leveling the other crafters much easier. However, they're going to be on every job now, so it's going to be much easier to get those skills. Elemental aspects to recipes are also going to be removed and related actions consolidated. So no more wind aspected recipe, no more lightning, etc. Won't have to worry about breaking an item because of not having the right elemental action set. A new crafting UI, so they did show off a new crafting UI down, now shows a lot more information about buffs. Collectible synthesis status will also be displayed much more clearly now as well. I'm going to try and make this picture as big as I can. So, also tells you the resultant increases from actions helping you to calculate your progress. That can calculate in the head, the buff section can be minimized. The resultant increases from actions are also going to be displayed in the crafting log. HQ crafting, so high quality crafting, will be easier when using high quality materials, with the maximum initial quality limit raised from 50% to 75% for 5.0 recipes only. And you can also check that maximum quality before synthesis. So beforehand, it used to be that you could only set 50, no matter how much high quality items you used, you would only ever get 50% boost or 50% starting high quality chance when making something. That's going to be increased to 75. What you can also see here is you've got all of the different base status effects here. So you've got Comfort Zone in Acquired, Steady Hand 2, Waste Not. The collectible synthesis is on there, what your collectability item is here, quality and progress. And down here, you've got at 100% efficiency, progress increases by 545. At 100% efficiency, quality increases by 853. So this basically allows you to know that if your progress increases by 545 each time, then you're going to need 2 progresses. If your quality increases by 853, in order to get up to the 7,080 here, you're going to need 4, 5,000, 5, 8, 6, 6. Yeah, 4. Yeah, so you'll be able to work that out so that you can then plan your rotations much more easily. Master recipe books 4, 5, and 6 are going to be easier to obtain since there's so many books now. There are other adjustments being made internally. So the new crafting and gathering items will be around the same lines as previous expansion launches, so you can prepare similarly. So those people that want to get into crafting and gathering high-end items immediately. New materia, but since it's only 2 weeks away, they've decided to keep quiet on it, which is really annoying. But since he's so torn about what to say, you can guess based on his behaviour, he was agitated about actually not being able to say it, but they did decide to. New gathering and crafting sets, so you've got the Fisher, the Botanist, and the Miner, so they're the 3 gathering. Then you've got Blacksmith, Armourer, and Carpenter. Final Fantasy XIV did have lots of new young graduates joining the team, so they had to bring some fresh lines into the design around this time, which is why they have changed them. Leatherworker, Weaver, and Goldsmith, and since Weavers work with clothing, they have to be flashy. And then the Culinarian, which has got a really cool pan, and then the Alchemist as well. That was it for the first half of the live letter. The second half covered system updates and the new raid, which they hadn't talked about. They did show you some different videos. They showed you a recap video of the London and San Francisco media tours, but we're just going to dive straight back into the second half of the live letter. So the second half of the live letter started off with system updates. The streaming software has been unstable sometimes due to the way that their computers were eating memory, so they did have some issues with Twitch. However, they did recap certain parts of it, so if we do go over certain parts twice, it's because they missed out on the Twitch stream, but then they recapped when the Twitch stream came back. Only a portion of it will be revealed, since the patch notes will reveal everything. That's for the system updates. The only key ones are going to be revealed. So, new tombstones, Gotia and Phantasmagoria, are going to be the two different types of tombstones. Maybe this will be the final type of tombstone. I'm very much guessing not. They're going to be implemented 4 weeks after the official release of Shadowbringers. I'm guessing, and I think it was made clearer later on, that Phantasmagoria will be the tombstone that is released 4 weeks prior, 4 weeks after. Gotia is going to be the one that is released on launch, so that'll mean that Gotia is going to be kind of like the version of the Alamegan set. So the Alamegan set in Stormblood was 310. So you got your artifact gear, which was 290. You then got 310 gear, and then you got 330, which could be upgraded to 340. That came out when the Savage Raids came out, which I'm guessing is probably going to be the same in this instance as well. And that's going to be July the 30th for those people. So World First Race will start on July 30th. I'd imagine it'll end on July 30th as well. But I'm excited to see how the Savage Raids and the normal raids as well go. The normal raids will come out 2 weeks after. So you're looking at July 23rd, July 16th will be the release date for the normal mode raids. Which at the latest will be when the Gotia tombstones come out. Gatherers and Crafters are getting white scripts this time, and Glamour Dressers capacity are going to be going from 200 to 400, with plates going from 10 to 15, and they are also showing furnishing previews now, which is going to be helpful. They showed off some of the new in-game mounts, so you've got a robotic frog mount. They did say it's going to be difficult to obtain it. Gunbreaker tank, the high tier version will have armor attached to it, and they did say that a lot of the other mounts will be able to fly, so every mount will be able to fly going forward. Housing updates, so they do show the presentation and the furniture preview item. I'm not going to go into the furnishings too much because it's not something that I deal with a lot. We do have people in our free company that do design our free company house and design their own estates much more emphatically than I do, and much more nicer than I do. I've got an apartment that is empty, and they did say it's going to be much more convenient for housing enthusiasts. It's not available internally at the moment. No, it can be done externally as well. I thought that I was reading that wrong. So so you can do it internally and externally. And they then showed off some designs from the contest winners, which is the broken tree branch, which can be used as a seat. They did use a debug mode to change the weather, and it didn't work the first time, but they did get it sorted, and they did show it off as well. Latest test servers is now entering, so this is internally to Square Enix, internally to the Final Fantasy XIV team. They are currently developing patch 5.1 already, so 5.0 hasn't even launched, and they're already developing patch 5.1 content. So some of the other pictures that they did show off, and then they showed off some equipment, which I'm going to make as big as I can here, just so I can see them as much. So this is gear that represents the Ronkan culture. So the Ronkan culture is the culture that were rulers of the Vaktita Greatwood before they disappeared off, before they just died off. Some of the lore people have speculated, as well as other people have speculated, that the Ronkan are an offshoot of the Alligans, or the first version of Alligans, or even Alligans who fled the source and emerged on the first, and then ruled there for a prolonged period of time. So here, I believe this is the scouting gear, because you've got the two weapons there. You can see the two knives. So that'd be the... Actually, no, that may actually be the dancer gear. Just they look more like boomerangs than anything else. So it's either scouting or aiming, and I think it's more aiming. Just I think they're boomerangs, so that's going to be the aiming gear that machinists and bards have as well. This looks like the tank gear, so that definitely looks like a tank gear, because that looks like a Ronkin Gunblade. I thought it was a Dark Knight's big massive sword, but I can see the handle there and the little revolver there, so I think that is the tank armor. And then you've got the healer gear, because that is very clearly an astrologian. Yoshi started complaining that the camera's too far away, and the gym took it out of him. Lots of memes going around where people have cleared that white space, and people are just showing off random things. They then showed a frog costume, not too sure why, and then some glamour. Omega male and female minions. Centrino seals. So this is the next major thing. So Centrino seals are going from 1,000 to 4,000. Massive change. Direction and status of a rank B mark will be displayed when nearby. So if you've got the requisite rank B hunt bill, it will tell you if it's around. So as you can see in the screenshot, you sense your mark to the north. You no longer sense the presence. So it just helps with regards to actually identifying if you've got a rank B mark. And also when a rank S mark spawns in a region, you'll also get a message as well. If so, that basically means if you're not part of a hunting shell, you'll still be able to find S ranks. And he did say there's a surprise element implemented for S ranks, but the secrets is there for now. We've got to find out for ourselves. Don't want to spoil the surprise. Retainer window is going to be updated, and a sort function will be added. Material melding requests can now be sent in succession, so you don't have to keep re-requesting again and again and again if melding fails. And like this, I've said before, all mounts will be able to fly, including coils and war lions. Achievement filters will be added, so unfinished, complete, item rewards, title rewards, much easier. Watch list function will be added. I'm guessing that's to the market board? Oh no, it's an achievement. Up to 30 entries can be tracked. Mentor certification. So if you are part of the Mentor network and the Novice network, they are going to change in 5.0. And basically, if you have not completed them by the end of 5.1, you will lose your certification in 5.2. So players who have obtained certification prior to release of 5.0 but do not meet the new requirements, you will retain your current status for a duration of 5.0. 5.1, all mentors need to be held to the same standard, so changes will be implemented to encourage mentors who have qualified under the old system to obtain recertification. So, in order to keep your certification, trade mentors, level 18, any disciple of a hand class as well as a disciple of the land must have synthesized 100 collectibles and must have gathered or caught 300 collectibles. So that's for the trade mentors. For the PvE mentors, you must have completed the level 80 tank, healer, and DPS, either physical or magical quest. So you've got to have a level 80 tank, healer, and a DPS. Must have completed dungeons, raids, or trials a combined 1,000 times, and must have received 300 player commendations. I think the only change is that you've got to have completed the level 80 side on both. I think the other stats have raised the same. So, Eden, they do talk about it a little bit. They have turned around and said they couldn't show off too much of Eden, because if they do, it'll show a lot of the MSQ, because in order to show it all off as they want to, or as they would like to, they'd have to clear the MSQ, and that would mean that you would therefore see the different weather, you'd see night, which they didn't want to see. So they did show you a quick video. The rough overview is that you, the Warrior of Light, will need to obtain form of power through the raid. It is really white, with some campsites there, and then basically barren land, nothing there. You've got to put life back into the area. They want to show them more, but since it's very heavily related to the MSQ, they couldn't show you any further. If you go through some of the interviews that Dengeki, 4chan, Gamer Escape, those people have done with Yoshi P at E3, they do talk about how Eden is present in the launch trailer that they did show off at E3. which people have been able to speculate on because there's so much lore information in there. The fact that Heidelin and Zodiac are primals is a massive issue, which people are really looking forward to finding out. But you do see little bits of Eden in there as well. Final bit is just introducing some of the key characters and wrapping up the actual live let themselves. So they showed off Thancred. So Thancred, as you can see, he does change a bit in 5.0. It is all explained in the storyline, especially the fact that he does also learn how to gunblade. As well as the fact that we do find out more about his struggles and the path that he's on and the fight he has to go through in order to get there. Ishtola, the job has been changed to a witch. She's referred to as Matoya in the full trailer, and that details do actually be played out in the actual main scenario. Yoshida actually wants Ishtola's outfit for his Black Mage, but at the moment it's not there. Urianger, Astrologian, when Minfilia got sent off during 3.4, Urianger has thoughts about that, and he does have a prophecy as well. Alphino is kind of sort of like the second protagonist, they have said, so despite him not being in the actual trailers until the benchmark trailer, he is actually one of the main protagonists, as always. He has developed and he has changed into what he is today. Sorry about the banging outside. Alice, again, changed a lot since 3.4 all the way through. She is reckless and easily falls in battle, but lucky for her, Urianger conveys her really quick. So basically, she's probably going to be floor tanking a lot of the time. Minfilia, she's got both the same name and the same eyes as the previous Minfilia, but we don't know what her connection is to the previous one. So it'll be interesting to see what the connection between the Minfilia from the source and Minfilia from the first is. We saw this guy in the main 5.0 trailer released at the JP FanFest. Creepy Arm Crystal guy is no longer a thing. He is now the Crystal Exarch. He is the de facto leader of the people at the Crystarium, mainly for his position as well as for the crystalline transformation that's going through. We do meet him in 4.55. We don't know much about him yet, but we will find out about him throughout. They then talked about Minfilia a little more. We'll get to know what the relation of this Minfilia is with the one from the source, and they do explain again the fact that we'll find out about Thancred rescue Minfilia, Ishtola being referred to as Master Matoya throughout the MSQ. They then talked about Solus. It was amazing for the devs to find out various speculation and guesses made to the character when the face mark was shown in the launch trailer. I'm just having a read of that. So we've got the NPC, so when you progress your scenario at a certain point, NPCs will stand there, will have dialogues and some sort of to-do mark that encourages you to explore it. So the dialogue is there to get more lore about the first, so you are encouraged to interact with people. So Solus is going to be kicking around as we were expecting. We're not too sure whether or not he's friend or foe. The facial expressions do lead himself to four, or actually these are for these guys. So you've got Vorfrey and Ranjit, two people that we meet in the trailer that launched at E3. Lina, who we also see in the trailer at E3. Theo Yule, we don't see in the trailer, I don't think, but she's going to be a very important pixie in relation to the storyline. I'd imagine that is at Ilmeg. We know a lot about Vorfrey. He's the leader of Yulmore. People are guessing he's probably a Sin Eater because of the size of him, or he could just be some kind of Sin Eater crossed with an actual living human or living being from the first. And we don't know much about Ranjit at all. The game does have a language created for the Pixies, so I think back in the NA FanFest, Koji did identify that he did all the language for the dragons, and they've done the same for the Pixies. And we will also meet the heroes of the first, and we'll get to know more about what happens to them after the events of patch 4.3. They're being told in the role class quests, which are replacing the job quests. They are highly detailed, and they do elaborate on lots of information a lot. They then kind of talked about what's happening in the future. So they have advised people to play at less congested areas, whether or not that means areas in the actual game or times, so areas of time. That's to try and prevent a repeat of Warbond X happening. In also to try and do that, they've kind of implemented a sort of queuing system in the background in order to try and stop people spamming buttons. From the system side, they'll keep tweaking and adjusting as situations need, but there will be situations where problems still occur, so please, they will pay extra attention when that happens. So check out the forums, check out lodestones in case these things happen. My side of this is, when these things happen, please do take your time. In terms of it, we know that there's going to be these bottlenecks, we know there's going to be these delays. Don't get stressed. Don't keep on going on and on at the devs or at the creative team, or how can they let this happen? Why are they letting this happen? This is ridiculous. They should know about this. I want time back. I want this. I want that. Just relax and deal with the rough and the smooth. If you get to a point where the story bottlenecks, go and do some side quests with one of your other level 70s, because you'll still be able to. And it'll give you more, an enriched version of the world. Go and get Dancer, or go and get Gunbreaker, and do some stuff with them. Don't just keep trying to spam the same thing. Do what we did in Stormblood. The EU servers had an actual queue. Like, no word of a lie. There's a picture somewhere on Reddit from back when Stormblood launched, and it was an actual queue. They then showed you the upcoming schedule. So June 28th, start of early access. July 2nd, start of the official servers. July 16th, patch 5.01, that's Eden Normal. July 30th, patch 5.05, Eden Savage, Tombstones of Phantasmagoria, and the Dungeons of Liga here. That'll be for your new treasure maps, and additional dungeons will also accompany it. Have too much to talk to, but they couldn't due to all the time constraints, so hopefully we could forgive them. We know how much information they want to give us out. We know that there's only a certain amount of time, so we understand that from our side, or at least I do from my side. I know there's some people that go, well, I want everything. Just enjoy what they're giving us. We're 2 weeks away from an expansion launch. Enjoy what they're giving us. New data centers as well. New worlds on the 2 new data centers. So Spriggan will be added to Chaos, and Titania will be added to Light. That's on the European data centers. And they'll be implemented next Tuesday due to the number allowed to create new characters reaching its limits. So that may be that some of the worlds on the EU data centers are actually starting to become congested. And that was everything. They did start going through some of the things like the left-handed controller, the Eorzean Symphony. They're going to be at the Tokyo Game Show, which is during Shadowbringers launch. I believe it's on the Thursday, so there might be some information come out there, but I very much doubt it, because everyone will be massively excited about Shadowbringers, at least for the first 2 weeks. I'm not really that fussed about getting any information about Eden, any information about the Phantasmagoria, Tombstones, anything like that. I'm going to be really excited for Shadowbringers, and I hope everyone else is too. Like I say, we are 13 days away from Shadowbringers' actual launch. Bear in mind, servers will probably go down the Wednesday. I'm going to guess the Wednesday, but it might be the Thursday. But from past experience, I think the Wednesday is probably the better guess. I know it's normally 24-hour, 48-hour maintenance for these things. Patch notes are going to be out during downtime, so they are doing a live reading of that, but will be in Japanese. I'll be aiming to, as soon as the patch notes are out and I'm home from work, getting a video up on the patch notes, so that will be the next time you see me. You'll hear me, however, on the next episode of Good Evening Eorzea, which will, touch wood, be up later on this coming week, so probably Monday or Tuesday it'll get recorded, and then it'll be up after that. However, until then, thank you for listening to me babble on and on about the live letter. I hope it was informative, and I hope you did take some things away. But until next time, thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe as always down below. But until then, goodbye.